Welcome back, my dear sweet friends. We hope this video finds you safe and well. Today is going to be a follow-up video to Tuesday's video. Tuesday's video, we talked about how to go through your refrigerator and find a little bit of this or a little bit of that, foods that you need to use up, and we came up with some great creative meals that we hope you enjoyed. Today, we want to take that a step further, and we want to talk about what Paul and I have stopped buying due to price increases and started making ourselves. And we also want to share with you a little bit from the American Woman's Cookbook. It was done late 30s, early 40s. The edition I have, I think, is 42. Just want to read you a little bit out of it. It was printed when times were lean, when prices were high and wages were low and people were struggling. So we hope this video will bless and encourage you. If you are new here, click that subscribe button. Come on in and be part of our family. We have the best subscribers anywhere on YouTube, and I mean that sincerely. So let's start with a little excerpt from this book that I want to share with you. One of the sections in this book is how to feed a family of 5 on $15 a week. Now you got to remember this was 1940, but listen to the advice they gave then and how we live now. How to feed a family of 5 on $15 a week. This will be no new experience to the homemaker who has been feeding a family of 2 adults and 3 children on $15 a week. But for those who must learn to carry on when that figure is new to them, the following pages will help you meet the challenge. Buy carefully is the first thing they tell you. Buy staples in quantity when permitted, and we're seeing a lot of that now. We're allowed so many of different items. Meats, fruits, and vegetables need to be inspected carefully and bought in accordance with the market and the season. Again, advice we encourage. Make a checklist in your kitchen and then stick to it. Stay within your food budget every week. This is just good practical sense. A dangerous pitfall is that of overbuying one week in the hope of making it up the next. If there is a little cash left, buy eggs or fruit. Raise a garden and poultry if you can. It will take pressure off the budget. I mean, that is still relevant almost 80 years later. Good, common, practical sense that we can all follow and go by. So I just wanted to share that with you. So as Paul and I were looking back at our older food hauls, we noticed we no longer buy. One of my favorite items was Victoria pasta sauce. It's $6 a jar. Now, sometimes we can get it on sale, and that is great. Hasn't been happening often. What I do now, which I did years ago and I stopped, our own tomato sauce. And I am going to show you right now how simple, easy, and magnificently delicious making your own tomato sauce. And this time of year, we are going to use canned tomatoes. So I'm going to show you how to do it with canned whole tomatoes and crushed tomatoes, because I had both kind, so you use what you can. We made a double batch. So here is the recipe. Come on in the kitchen. One of the easiest things you can make is homemade tomato sauce. For your pasta, for your lasagna, for your baked ziti, whatever it may be. Also, you're controlling the ingredients you are putting in to give it a beautiful, robust, authentic tomato taste. We're making a double batch because we are going to freeze one batch, but one can usually makes enough for a pound of pasta. And I'm going to use both diced tomatoes and plum tomatoes. You can use either. I get the no salt added because the sodium content in tomatoes is high for me. So I add a little bit, but if you're using salted tomatoes, you don't have to worry about adding salt. I'm going to use 2 28-ounce cans, some really good extra virgin olive oil. That really makes a delicious sauce. Clove of garlic. This is basil that I froze from my basil plants from the summer. You can use dried basil if you have a basil plant. Take a couple leaves, and basically that's it. And I'm going to show you how easy and how delicious you can make this. I emptied the whole tomatoes in here and the crushed tomatoes. What I like to do first, I chop up the tomatoes. If you don't have an immersion blender, use a regular blender. Use an old-fashioned potato masher. Whatever you'd like to do, but we want to break up these whole tomatoes. So we blended this all together. There's still some chunks left, but we like it like that. I paid 99 cents a can for those cans of tomato. One can will make a pound of pasta, no problem. Again, if you can, extra virgin olive oil, a little bit goes a long way, and it is just so superior tasting. So what I did is I covered the bottom of my pan. I'm going to add just a little more. This bottle is almost done, so we're going to finish it. Don't be stingy with the olive oil. Just a light coating on the bottom really enhances the taste. I am putting in one very large clove of garlic. You can put in more, you can put in less. You know how much garlic your family enjoys. And we're just going to cook this just a couple seconds along with the basil. Now, carefully, because this is hot oil, we're going to add all our tomatoes. So we just mix that together. My tomatoes have no salt in them, so I am going to add about a 1/4 teaspoon of salt. But if your tomatoes are salted, you don't even have to do this. Paul and I find when you make your own sauce, it can be a little bit bitter or acidic, especially if you're using canned tomatoes, not fresh. What I like to do is just add about a teaspoon of sugar. That is it. Now, a lot of people will say, absolutely not, don't do that. And by all means, you don't have to. We think it just take the acidity that comes from these canned tomatoes out just a bit. And it's not a lot of sugar, but it will enhance the flavor. Now, we are going to let this cook over medium heat until it comes to a soft boil. And then we're going to lower it, and then we're going to let it simmer. Silly me, I forgot to add just about a 1/2 teaspoon of onion powder. And just for a little kick, and you don't have to do this, we like to add a little red chili pepper. Kind of makes it fra diavolo, a little hot. But you, by all means, don't have to do that. So this is coming to a gentle boil. We're going to cover it, put it on low, and it's going to cook for about an hour at least. Because every once in a while, you're going to want to give it a stir. So you can see how thick our tomato sauce is getting. You're keeping it on a simmer. We still have about 15 minutes left or so. This cooked just about an hour. Do you see the oil on the top? It's kind of separated from the tomatoes. Can you see it? It's a darker red than the tomato sauce. That means we are cooked. Look at how thick and beautiful this has become. So you can use half the sauce now and freeze the other half, and it will be perfect. Just make sure you cool it in the refrigerator before you freeze it. We're going to be having that sauce tonight for dinner. So delicious, so easy. If you have any questions about them, leave them in the comments. You control the spices. This is just your basic marinara sauce. How you elevate it now is up to you. With meats, with vegetables, you could put mushrooms in it, broccoli, you could make a primavera, use it on pizzas, as a dipping sauce for bread. It is just wonderful. That batch, for a little over $2, will give me 2 full meals compared to a good quality pasta sauce that's now costing $6 and $7, and it has the exact same ingredients that I just used. So you do the math, right? Now we're going to attempt something we've never done before. Paul and I are going to get into the kitchen and we're going to make some flour tortillas. We don't claim to be an expert. If you see the recipe and you're like, oh my goodness, you're doing it all wrong, forgive us, but we wanted to attempt this and we think it came out amazing. We stopped buying tortillas, not only because of the huge price increase for basically some flour, water, and a little fat because of the sodium content. I watch my sodium. Now, a lot of you don't have to, but the sodium content in one tortilla was 580 milligrams. That's like 25% of what an average American should consume. So that was a lot of sodium in one tortilla. So we decided, let's make our own because we haven't bought them in over a year. So we're gonna turn the camera around again. Let's get into the kitchen. Make 8 tortillas for way under $1. Here you go. Our next recipe is going to be homemade tortillas. Warm, delicious, economical, and they're super to have on hand. This recipe makes 8 tortillas. We're gonna need 2½ cups flour, a teaspoon of baking powder, half a teaspoon of salt, 4 tablespoons of room temperature butter, but I didn't have any room temperature, so I just grated mine. And we're gonna need anywhere from 7/8 to 1 cup of water. So let's get to work on these. We have our 2½ cups flour in our bowl. We're gonna add a teaspoon of baking powder, about a half a teaspoon of salt, and we're gonna whisk this all together. Gonna take the butter, we're gonna put it in and we're gonna rub it in between our fingers. This is so therapeutic, honestly. Cooking from scratch is just such a positive experience, I think. And with the prices being what they are for everything, we're having to make substitutions. We're having to learn to create convenience items from scratch. And that's what we're doing today. And they taste so much better. So that's all mixed throughout. Now we're going to start with about 3/4 of a cup of water. And we're just going to take our fork and start mixing it. Okay, let's add a little bit more. I still have some dry patches, so I added the full cup. Now I'm just going to keep at it with my fork. So this is what they mean by shaggy dough. Do you see how it's kind of rough looking? So I put just a little bit of flour down on my baking mat here, and I'm just going to give it a little bit of a knead, say for about 1 to 2 minutes. But by all means, you could have put it in your KitchenAid with the dough hook. So I kneaded the dough for about 2 minutes, and you can see this is not shaggy anymore by any means. It is a beautiful dough. Now we're going to separate it into 8 pieces, break it in half. Then I'm going to break this in half, and then each one of these in half. Now what I'm going to do, just put them into little balls. What I'm going to do is cover them with a towel and let them rest for 30 minutes before we cook them. We're going to be using our cast iron pan to cook our tortillas in today. So right now I am going to preheat it over medium-high heat while I start making them. So these sat for 30 minutes and rested. Oh, and you can see how soft these are. I'm going to flour my rolling pin and I am going to start rolling. Okay, so we're going to take our first tortilla. Looks good. Please make sure your pan is preheated until it is very hot. Then carefully place the tortilla onto the bottom of the pan, and you're going to toast each side for about 30 to 40 seconds until you see the bubbles forming. With tongs, carefully flip it over. The pan is extremely hot. Please be careful. And let it cook for another 30 to 40 seconds on the other side. So what we've been doing is, as we're cooking them, we've been putting them under a towel to keep them warm. You can see how beautiful this is. My goodness, look at this. I love it. A whole stack of homemade tortillas. Make sure that you store these in the refrigerator though. I am more and more impressed with these tortillas. Look at the bottom. Look at these. Look at how that just rolls. No cracking, nothing. That was such an amazing experience. I have never made anything like that. It was so delicious, but I have to say it was kind of like a mix between a tortilla and a pita. Wouldn't you agree, Paul?
Yeah, it was very interesting the way it bubbled up.
Yeah.
And I thought maybe it was making a pocket inside. They were very good. I enjoyed them. I really thought they were good.
They were amazing. I'm like, wow, this was super easy. Again, they were a little different than that flat, thin tortilla you get in a package. They had a little bit more substance. They almost had a pocket in the middle. They were really good. Economical. You control what's in them. Again, they were delicious. And now lastly, we have to share a sweet treat because we have people over a lot. People come over, my son comes over, my family comes over, friends, and we love to pull out a little something to share. We have not bought a prepared cake or cookie in a really long time, right, Paul?
Yeah, long time.
Prices are crazy. So what we're going to do is we are going to make a depression chocolate cake right now. So good. Turn the camera around. Come with us. We're going to now make what's called a chocolate depression cake. This was very big during the Depression because it didn't use butter and it didn't use eggs. And it is so yummy. I don't think I've ever shown it on my channel, or if I did, it was a while ago. Basically, all you need is 1.5 cups of flour, about 3/4 of a cup of sugar. You can use a full cup, but we use a little less. 1/3 cup of cocoa. You need about 1/2 teaspoon of salt, 1 teaspoon of baking soda, 1/3 cup of oil, a tablespoon of vinegar, a teaspoon of vanilla, and then a cup of water. Simple, basic ingredients. We're going to take the flour, the sugar, the cocoa powder, 1 teaspoon of baking soda, and about 1/4 teaspoon of salt. Give this a good whisk to mix everything all together, and if there's any lumps, we want to get those out. So I just made a little well in the center of our dry mixture, and I'm going to add the 1/3 cup oil to that well. I'm also going to add a cup of water, teaspoon of vanilla, and the magic ingredient, 1 tablespoon of vinegar. And we're going to whisk this together until it's completely incorporated. So I just have an 8-inch square baking pan. You don't want to overmix this. You just want to mix it until you don't see dry flour anymore. And when I first started mixing it, you could hear it bubbling because of the baking soda and the vinegar together. And this is such an amazing cake. We don't frost ours. I mean, you could, but it is wonderful with just a little sprinkling of powdered sugar on it. Now we're going to put this in a preheated 350-degree oven for about 35 minutes. Our delicious Depression chocolate cake cooked for 35 minutes exactly. Look at the rise on this cake. It smells so chocolatey, delicious. We're going to let this cool and then we'll cut a piece. It is dessert time and we're going to try our Depression chocolate cake. Just going to put a little tiny bit of powdered sugar, sprinkle that on. Now you could make an icing for this, but guess what? You don't even need to. Look how lovely that is. Look at the rise of this cake. Look at how fluffy. This looks so delicious. We're gonna take a bite and we'll let you know how it is. Turned out beautiful. Hands down, that cake was light as air. Do you agree, Paul?
Yeah, I snuck a piece this morning for breakfast.
I thought there looked like there was a little more gone. Really delightful. What did we pay? It was literally under $1 for that delicious cake that would have served 8 people generously. If you had some whipped cream, you could have put a squirt on it, a scoop of ice cream, but we loved it just as it was. Now the recipe for the tortillas and the recipe for the cake will be linked down below in my description box. Basically what we're saying to you is prices are high. We need to learn to improvise. We need to be creative. We need to start creating our favorite foods that we have other people prepare at home for cheaper and healthier versions. Everything we made was over the top, did not take hours of prep. Make it yourself, make it cheaper, make it healthier. So we hope this video today blessed you. If you make any of these recipes and you follow me on Instagram, one word, Frugal Money Saver, link me if you make any of the recipes that we share. I would love to see how you do, how they come out, and then I will post them on my Instagram page. The question of today, and we really would like to know this is kind of pertinent. What do you budget a week for food or a month for food, bi-weekly, and how many people are in your family? And also, do you include like cleaning supplies and household items in your food budget as well? Just would really be encouraging to us. So please share that information. Also, if you have any questions about the video, any comments about the video, you know I answer each and every one of them. Thank you again for being here. We ask that you please give this a big thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't. Click that notification bell so you will receive an alert every time Paul and I put a video out, which is every Tuesday and every Friday. Thank you again. We ask you, with everything going on right now in the world, that you stay safe and that you be well. We love you so much. Until our next video, we wish you blessings. Bye-bye. We'll see you soon.